Hi, welcome to Infodumpies. My name's Brianne. I'm autistic, I have ADHD, my pronouns are she, her. And up next from Dallas, Texas, standing at 5'4", it's the ballistic autistic Brianne.
That's excellent. That's so good. Hi, I'm Violet. My pronouns are she, her. I have ADHD, and while that is a tough act to follow, I just want to say that I wish I could buy some property in Bookland.
All right, well, I feel like I'm going to learn about what that means later.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to go first?
Yes, so hey listeners, if you clicked on the episode, it's a mini dump. You already know it's a mini dump.
Little bitty
If
ones.
it was just auto playing, you probably don't know that it's a mini dump. We're doing mini dumps, and if it's your first mini dump you've listened to with us, this is an episode where it is Violet and I taking turns with subjects that were cool, sure, but not enough to make their whole episode. So we each pick little mini things to dump about. The first thing I'm talking about today is the noble, the beautiful, and the ferocious Chihuahua.
I thought you were talking about me for a second till you said Chihuahua.
I mean, there are many characteristics you share with the noble, beautiful, ferocious Chihuahua.
That's true. I will say size is not one of them. I'm like probably 15 Chihuahuas tall.
I mean, yeah, it'd be a tall Chihuahua too.
Yeah, long-legged ones.
Yeah, real tall Chihuahuas. So, I don't know if listeners know, but I had a baby.
Oh,
she weighs 8 pounds. Her name is Moogie. And she's a little mutt, but one thing we do know about her is that she's part Chihuahua. And
she's the best.
She is lovely. I love her. She's a little stinker. She looks like a little weasel. I would love to know what other kind of dogs make up that little Moogie, because she's got curly whiskers, which I've just never seen on a dog.
I've never seen that either.
Yeah, love her. Absolutely love her. Kind of looks like Rizzo the rat. She's incredible. But I wanted to learn more about Chihuahuas because I have never been the fur parent, I'm not the fur parent. I've never had a fur baby, who's a Chihuahua. And of course, I want to know, what is the breed prone to? I went down a rabbit hole and learned quite a bit about the history of the breed Chihuahua. What do you know about Chihuahuas? What can you hit me with?
They quiero Taco Bell, and they're little guys or gals. They're little puppies. They're small. Paris Hilton is a big fan of them. They got big old ears. They're usually...
Bonus points. Do you remember what her famous Chihuahua's name was?
Tinkerbell?
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah. I don't know why I knew that, just completely offhand. But yeah, I knew that by heart somehow. But yeah, Tinkerbell.
You're a millennial woman. Of course you do.
Right.
Chihuahuas, this might surprise you, are named for the Mexican state of Chihuahua. I know, shocking.
That makes sense, honestly.
So they're a toy breed, and they are consistently one of the smallest dog breeds in the world. They're usually between 2 to 7 pounds, and Moogie is definitely mixed with some bigger flavor of dog because she just hit 8 pounds and she's only 4 months old.
So small.
So little. So something interesting that I learned. You're familiar with humans moving, when the continents are still together, 10,000 years ago, that humans and other creatures moved from Asia to the North American continent.
Yeah.
Because what is now the Bering Strait was connected. The two continents were connected, right? And critters of all kinds, including humans, were going from one continent to another. That included dogs. So dogs entered North America from Siberia because that's where it was connected. These dogs that made it over to North America, they ended up being isolated in North America until European colonizers came over. So these dogs, who originally from Asia, came over, and then the continents shifted, and they had about another 9,000 years of just being isolated in North America.
Wow.
So for 9,000 years, until the colonizers came, the dogs in North America just kind of were North American dogs. So this is interesting because the dogs who existed pre-contact with European dogs, because when the colonizers came over, they brought their own dogs, right?
Oh, yeah. Whoa. Oh, well, that does beg the question. How did we get dogs in both places, but different dogs? Did they all have a
they were
common name?
isolated. People bred specific traits from them in specific areas. Different types of dogs became more common. It's like they were
Right.
doing their
Okay.
own breeding experiments in completely isolated areas for a while.
Oh yeah. Well, because being after the geography changed, then
Yeah.
there
So
was
that's what I'm
all
saying. The dogs
separate
in North
experiments.
America
Yeah.
had about 9,000 years before they had other dogs come back. So by the time that 9,000 years had passed, things were very different. So
Gotcha.
they're so different that dogs who existed pre-contact with European dogs have a unique genetic signature when they've looked at ancient puppies
Oh wow.
that is almost gone. But when sequencing the genomes of ancient North American dogs, there is a specific genome they can tell this was a North American dog from this period of time pre-European colonization. A study that was published in 2020 suggests that this pre-colonial dog gene actually survives in two breeds of dog, the Chihuahua and the Xoloitzcuintli, aka the Mexican hairless.
I was gonna say you had mentioned the I don't remember how you say it. The
You can just say you can just say Xolo if you need
the Jolo.
to.
Yeah. You had told me about the Jolos before, and I was like, those seem like an ancient dog.
They are.
Yeah, and
So
I'm like, it's interesting that Chihuahuas are also ancient because I associate them with stuff like Paris Hilton, which is very not ancient.
but it's two Mexican dogs that have
Yeah.
this same gene. So in Chihuahuas, the study found that it exists around 4%, although some other studies suggest that their pre-colonial ancestry can be as high as 70%.
Oh wow.
So there's some disagreement on the origin of the Chihuahua. Some people say that the Chihuahua was brought over by Spanish colonizers. But when you look at this information on the genetics, and then you also, I'm going to provide some more information that is they've described dogs in what is now Mexico that look like Chihuahuas. I definitely don't think the fucking Spaniard colonizers were the ones who brought them over. To me, most of the evidence points to, no, these dogs were born and raised in Mexico. So I'm inclined to believe that they are Mexican born and bred, quite literally. The
Gotcha.
Toltec people of Mexico were known to keep a tiny breed of dog known as the Tachichi, which had a fat body and big ears that resembled that of a Chihuahua.
That sounds like me. No, just kidding.
No.
But also that sounds very cute. A fat body.
Fat body and big Chihuahua ears.
Oh.
So when the Aztecs came into power, they said, "Oh, we love these little guys." So they became a sign of nobility in Aztec culture. So almost like rich Paris Hilton carrying a dog around everywhere in her purse into places dogs aren't allowed. Ancient Aztecs were kind of doing the same thing with Chihuahuas.
Yeah.
In their own way. They were a status symbol. Yeah. It is believed that from here, the Tachichi was bred with the Xoloitzcuintli to get the Chihuahua we know today.
Oh, okay. Oh man, could you imagine just checking out a Tachichi though? They're probably like a Chihuahua but chunky.
Just like a chunkier Chihuahua.
Yeah, because the Zolos are they're pretty skinny from what I've seen, kind of lanky.
Some of them can get real chunky. I've seen some chunky ones.
Chunkalicious. Okay.
And it would explain the shared genetics. That's why I'm okay, American Kennel Club, where you told me they might have been brought over from Spain. I don't know if I quite believe you, because there seems to be a lot of contrary evidence, right?
Right.
They became a form of indicating power so much, they kind of became a form of currency.
Dog money?
If people were making trades, Chihuahuas were a frequent object of trade. So there's evidence that some Aztec nobility would keep packs of hundreds of Chihuahuas.
Oh my god. That's got to take up a whole room.
I'm imagining what the decibel level in that room is.
Oh my god. Oh, that must be so loud.
Rah!
I can't imagine. I can almost imagine there's two ancient people in fucking doing Aztec Beyblade or whatever, and one dude's like, "Ha, I win. You gotta give me all your Chihuahuas now."
All in. All in. 4 Chihuahuas. Jesus
Oh
Christ.
my
I don't
god.
have that much on me.
Ted, Ruby, Mary, and Jean Ann? All
And
4 of
that's
your
the thing.
Chihuahuas?
I would not have been able to do that. I'm like, give
Oh
me
yeah.
my babies?
Right, yeah, no. I think we
My
must have had a very
babies?
different relationship to
Yes.
dogs then.
Did you know there are 2 types of head shapes for Chihuahuas?
I did not know that, but somehow that I feel like I'm going to be delighted with the 2 different head shapes.
Yes, and if you saw them, you would go like, oh no, I've seen Chihuahuas with both those head shapes. Okay, yes, I understand. So there is only one head shape that is recognized by the American Kennel Club as being the breed standard, which
Of
is
course.
bullshit. I don't give a shit. They're all ADAB. All dogs are beautiful. Whatever shape your Wawa's head is a beautiful
Yeah.
shape. But the type that is recognized for like dog competition bullshit is the apple head. So an apple head can almost create a 90-degree angle where the muzzle meets the skull.
Okay.
And they tend to have bulbous eyes and the big old forehead. So I don't know if you
Yep.
want to Google apple-headed Chihuahua
I think I shall.
to get an
Apple-headed
idea of that.
Chihuahua. Apple-headed looking ass.
Apple-headed
Oh
looking
my god.
ass.
Oh my god. They're so cute. They're so small. They're so little.
little.
And it's like it's like bulbous.
A
They have like
bulbous little
a
head.
bulbous head.
They look like a goldfish dog.
Yeah, they're like They look like one of those like real bubbly goldfish that like real chunky. They kind of look like that. They got the big forehead and the big cheeks. There's real good pictures. If you listen,
it's real good.
Listener,
if you have a bad day and you want to look up
Yeah.
Applehead Chihuahua just to raise your spirits, it's really good.
Oh,
No, I got a lot of great
There's
great
real good
pictures.
ones.
I got a
This
lot
is
of great pictures
delightful.
researching this. It's
Oh
so
my
good.
gosh. Can I send you one? You might have seen it
Yeah.
already, but I'm just going to plop it in the chat here. I put it in the Zoom chat.
So little. The eyes are so far apart. so
in
incredibly
two
far
completely different
apart. Looking
directions.
I was going to say two completely different directions.
Yeah.
This little guy's looking.
This is
That's the picture for this episode.
Yeah. 100%.
So the other head shape, which from what I was reading is like an older head shape. So the apple head was something they decided to cultivate later. So this is probably closer to what ancient Chihuahuas had as a head shape, is the deer-headed Chihuahua.
Oh.
And Mookie very likely had a deer-headed Chihuahua parent.
Oh, gotcha. That checks out because I just Googled deer-head Chihuahua and they do look more Moogie-like.
They look more Moogie-like, more slender. The eyes are fixed in a way that's a little more like a dog.
More like a dog.
More like a dog and less like a goldfish. Yeah, more sleek, more pointy.
Very pointy.
Very pointy. Mookie's incredibly pointy. But yes, so yeah, that's my dump about Chihuahuas. I just love little Moog. I would love to know what other kind of dogs make up little Moogie, because she looks like someone took a shrink ray to a German Shepherd, I think.
And made them just
a powerful shrink ray that made, a dog that's like maybe her head stands at 12 inches tall. And she's a whole 8 pounds. Yeah, that's my dump about Wawas.
I think the first thing that I would like to talk about for my mini dumps is Bookland. Have you heard the term Bookland before?
Yes, I have. Earlier, when we did the intro thing, you said it. So
before that, even have you heard the term Bookland?
No. Like 19 minutes ago, I had not heard it. No.
Gotcha. Are you familiar with the ISBN system for books identification?
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that stands for
managed a bookstore.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah. What am I saying? I'm surprised, given that you've managed a bookstore, that you haven't heard of Bookland then.
Since it was a comic book store, and a lot of what I was dealing with were periodicals, and they had one distributor for our stuff that actually did have ISBNs at the time.
Gotcha.
I did not have the same experience as people who worked in like a traditional bookstore, I don't think.
I'm surprised you don't know about Bookland, just because Bookland is the magical place where all books come from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the ISBN system is the International Standard Book Number System, and it is a unique identification system for books and other quote-unquote monographic publications. Basically, it's a standardized code for each and every book and publication of that book and like version of that book. Each one gets its own ISBN number. The ISBN system was started a very, very long time ago.
I used to be really good at looking at the ISBN when I was working on like vintage books to be like, they haven't told us which printing it is in words, but I can look at the ISBN from something that's at least new enough to have the ISBN on there, because sometimes we got very old stuff that didn't.
And it's funny you mention that. The ISBN system was established in 1970, so if the book was older than that, it wouldn't have an ISBN number.
Which we got some books that were older than that. But exactly. The ISBN really helped me to figure out and confidently say, this is a first printing of blank.
Did you know, before the ISBN, we had something not in the US, but in the UK, in 1967, they had something called the SBN system, or the Standard Book Numbering System.
I had no clue.
Yeah. So it was devised in 1966, implemented in 1967, the SBN UK system, and it was kind of the inspiration for the ISBN system, which we use over in the US. Now, at the time, well, before I say this, do you know how many digits are in an ISBN number?
Oh, Jesus. I forget.
There are 13 digits in an ISBN number.
See, my brain was going to 10, so I was close.
There's a reason for that. It used to be 10.
Oh, it used to be 10.
Yeah. So, originally, the ISBN numbers were 10 digits long. But the thing is, with 10 digits, you can quickly run out of numbers when you have so many different books being made and being produced. You end up running out of numbers. When that happened, there was basically kind of not really a panic, but a decision had to be made on like, all right, well, we're running out of numbers. What do we do? So the ISBN system said, I know, we can add a prefix, a 2 or 3 digit prefix, usually 3, that indicates the country of origin of this book. So we're adding a bit more complexity.
So two different countries could have books that have otherwise than the country code the same ISBN number, exactly. But because the little country prefix is different, you can still tell them apart.
Exactly. And
it
helps
create little ecosystems of numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And oftentimes it'll, they might even have different ISBN numbers, but like you said, it makes ecosystems of ISBN numbers. Well, in the United States, most retail products in general are marked with a UPC symbol, also known as a barcode. That barcode is in use in pretty much every other country in the form of an EAN, or European Article Number, which also starts with a country of origin. Because you can also sell books, and you don't want to have books that have the country code twice in 2 different formats, right? Because imagine you're in the US, you're selling a European book, it's got the EAN number and the identifier on the ISBN number, right? Since the book industry produces so many products globally, the larger book industry has been designated as a country unto itself and has been assigned its own EAN prefix. What? An international prefix, basically, for international books. Like books that released, like they're everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, everywhere books, also known as the country of Bookland. So, that prefix is 978, and I'm going to tell you a little spoiler, sometimes 979 nowadays, because we ran out of numbers again, but 978 signifies Bookland, which is the wonderful, beautiful, fictitious country where all books come from.
All books that have one release internationally, though.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because there are books where someone's like, here's the Italian version of my book, here's the Spanish version of my book. Do those get different country codes because they have different versions of it?
you would, okay, so if you have a title that is available in like 3 different versions, you would get 3 unique Bookland registered ISBN number barcodes.
Even if they're specific to a country, not just a language.
I believe so. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Sorry, the information on this is kind of weird because there's a website called isbn-us.com, and it has its own explanation of how this works, and it doesn't explain it very well. And there's several other websites that try to explain it, and none of them do a very good job. But
Interesting.
From what I can tell, so ISBN, the book specific thing, is unique to one particular title or product. The corresponding Bookland EAN prefix, which is the European barcode prefix, is a title specific marking, is what it says. I don't know what that means for different languages though, because this talks about like if one's a hardcover, one's a softcover, one's an ebook, you get 3 different ISBN numbers under that one Bookland.
Because I know, like, when I follow some authors on social media, it'll be like a couple years after the book came out here, and they're like, oh, the Turkish version of my book comes out on Friday. Look at that cover. And it'll have an alternate cover. Maybe even the name translates to something different, like quite literally. Or they're like, oh, the Italian version of my book came out last week. Get a load of that beautiful cover art by so-and-so, and it looks different. You know what I mean? Because, like, I know with comics, if it was all available in the U.S., but it had different covers and stuff, there were ways they indicated which version of that title it was based on how the exterior changed. But I don't know about the language changes and, like, region exclusive stuff. But that's interesting. I don't expect you to know all of that, but there are just so many little, like, books get released in such weird ways, like, weird different ways. It has to be such an intense system.
Yeah, absolutely. And like what it comes down to in terms of like whether or not it is Bookland comes down to where the company that makes the book is registered. And if it's registered in multiple countries, then it's considered international and therefore it's from Bookland.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
You've got
for me.
Nintendo and then Nintendo of America, same company. If they published a book, it would be from Bookland.
I fucking love that we're talking about
Japan.
books. I fucking love that we're talking about books, and your brain pulled out Nintendo when I was like, so Penguin Random House, and you're just like, Nintendo?
No, so the reason I mentioned Nintendo is because they have Nintendo and then Nintendo of America and then like Nintendo UK and all these other things, right? And they're just the first example of an international company that I thought of. They are Japanese in origin, and if they were only in Japan, they would not be from Bookland. They would be from the prefix 49, which is Japan's prefix.
So it's interesting. So I think if a different publisher has to do it internationally, then it would be the different code.
I think so. Yeah. I think if it's all about the company that makes the book.
Interesting.
And that
Very
specific version of the book. Yeah. So that's Bookland, really. It's just the magical place where books come from when they're from multiple places or the whole world.
Incredible. I love Bookland.
Yeah,
you taught me, someone who managed a bookstore, something about ISBNs.
Hell yeah. I am so proud.
Yeah.
I hope I did a good job. And if there's anyone listening that knows more about this than I do and I've said something wrong, please let me know, and I will tell Brianne another thing that she doesn't know about ISBN numbers.
So my next topic, you might have guessed, given my intro, is about wrestling.
Yes, I'm so excited because the hype that you instilled in me with your intro, it's still there. Like I feel like I'm like
there, right?
Right? by the hype.
So I've been hyper fixated on wrestling for about a month. I wanted to get into it. Shout out to my friend Raven, who has a special interest in wrestling and helped me figure out how to get into it. Raven also is a comic book store lady, so she explained it to me like getting into wrestling is kind of like getting into some comics. You just kind of have to dive in and figure stuff out as you go because there's years and years of lore. So thankfully, whenever I've had like a question like, what the fuck was that? Who is this little guy they're all fighting over? why did this person do that? I can just go, Raven, what was that? So thank you, Raven, for helping me on my wrestling journey. But there is one wrestler who I have gotten very into. She's very cool. She did something in a match that made me pause and go, what the fuck? What the fuck? What was that? What was that?
Can I guess? Is this Asuka?
This is Asuka we're talking about.
I think, because I remember when you saw that happen when we were watching wrestling.
You probably heard me go, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think I was watching with you when she did that, and you were like, what the fuck? What was that? So,
and the
I'm
so I'm going to get into that. So Asuka, aka Kaneko Urai, which is her real name, is considered to be one of the best female wrestlers, period, from what I have learned. And listen, if you know more about wrestling than me, I just don't want to hear it. I'm new, I'm learning. Save your comments. If you're on Spotify and you're leaving a comment and it's a shitty comment and then you delete it, hey champ, I still see it and I remember your username because I'm a bitch who holds a grudge, okay? If you know more about wrestling than me, I don't want to hear it. I'm dumping about my interests. So
if you know more about wrestling than her, message me, let me know, and then I can tell her fun facts.
Keep it to yourself, write it in your journal. No one gives a fuck.
Okay.
I'm new at this. I'm very excited. Okay, so immediately I was enamored with her entrance. She enters, there's bright colors. She's usually wearing some really brightly colored kimono that's got like fur lined collar and arms, and she comes in moving in a way that is not even like human movement, and she has on these different masks. And the masks she wears are inspired by something called a No, N-O-H mask. Like no spelled N-O-H, which is a type of 14th century theatrical performance from Japan. So these masks were worn by the performers, and they are meant to evoke different expressions when looked at from different angles. Hers isn't like an actual no mask. It is very heavily inspired by them, and she has that on until she gets to the ring. Sometimes she also just straight up has an Oni demon mask.
Hell yeah.
So she gets to the ring, and you expect, okay, she's going to take off her mask, there's just going to be a regular lady underneath. Nope. Surprise, motherfucker. She has all this makeup on where she looks like a cool sparkly Joker.
Hell yeah.
Or sometimes it'll look like she is oozing green or blue liquid from her eyes and mouth.
Whoa.
Her hair is most of the time some fantasy color, so pretty recently it's been blue, like purpley blue and pink. All of her wrestling gear, like her costumes, are sparkly. All of her little wrestling shorts over top of the short design have a little thong design on top, as though she's wearing a thong on top of her shorts. Always just so colorful, and her whole attitude is unhinged. Like, she gets off on the violence, like she is full of rage, like she's just like, yeah, I live for this shit, yeah.
Sorry, are we talking about you or Asuka here? You know what I mean?
But yeah, and there have been tag team things where if they have her tag team partner say something snarky or do something snarky, they've just had Asuka turn on her tag team partner.
Oh.
And just kind of, and just like fuck off and then leave the entire match and be like, good luck, bitch. Yeah. Yeah, she does stuff where you're like, why would she do that? And the announcers are always like, you know Asuka. It's like,
oh, that Asuka.
Okay, so the thing that made me go, holy shit, what just happened, is she has a special poison mist attack. Gotcha. So I am watching this match with Asuka, and she suddenly spits a spray of green fluid into someone's face, and that person starts clutching their eyes like their eyes burn and they can't see. And then the announcers are basically just like, well, the green mist, yep, you gotta watch out for that. As though it's something completely normal and average and a normal part of wrestling. And I was like,
wait, was it green or was it blue? I thought it was
Sometimes
blue.
it's green, sometimes it's blue. It might have been blue when I watched with you.
Got a zag on him. Keep him guessing.
Yeah, so when she has that makeup where it looks like it's dripping from her eyes and mouth, it matches whatever mist she's using that day for the match. I was like, hey, Raven, what the fuck was that? Does she produce it? Where does the mist come from? What is the lore? What is the fiction here? And it is done by, at some point in the match, she places a small balloon full of green or blue fluid in her mouth, bites it, and then just spits the liquid in someone's face.
Hell yeah.
Now, this mist is actually pretty normal in wrestling.
I'm going to guess that when you say pretty normal in wrestling, there's an asterisk there, and then fine print at the bottom says, for Asuka only.
No.
Nobody else does this.
It started in Japanese wrestling in the early 80s. And her mist is kind of a nod to one of the great Japanese wrestlers. The mist became popular in the early 80s, and the innovator of this mist was a wrestler named the Great Kabuki, or his real name is Akihisa Mira. So he got the idea while at his manager Gary Hart's house, where Hart's wife had just made cookies that used food dye. So they tested the idea out in the manager's backyard, where they used a condom, food dye, and mouthwash.
Sorry, a condom?
A condom.
Some food dye and some mouthwash?
And some mouthwash, yes.
So you're just in the Walgreens checkout lane.
Obviously we're wrestling.
Obviously we're wrestling. Clearly, it's not for anything weird or sexual.
That's
why we're getting
weird.
Condoms. I'm
gonna go spit this in his face.
Yeah. It would be weird and sexual if we weren't getting condoms. So you're really the freak. No, just kidding.
So after the Great Kabuki, Hart went on to manage another wrestler named the Great Muta, who they billed as being Kabuki's son. He wasn't. And Muta also used this mist, which kind of cemented it as part of wrestling history.
Hell yeah.
So there are other, Western wrestlers who have done it. I saw some guy whose name I forget, where I guess his bit is that he's a vampire, so he does a red version of this, like blood. Okay. But I'm talking about specifically the poison mist. So depending on the wrestler who's using the mist, it can be purported to have different properties. So it either, blinds you, or it's straight up poison. Depends on the lore, depends on the fiction. But yeah, I really like Asuka. I think she's neat, and I like learning about wrestling. I love her whole vibe. Wrestling is so silly and goofy in its performance art. She has so many great moves. One of her submission holds called the Asuka lock. She wraps her legs around you and then yanks your arm back and has a hold of your chin. It's hardcore. She does a lot of what are called hip attacks, but basically it's she throw her butt at you.
Oh, love it.
Yeah. She's extremely cool. And
I love an angry, aggressive woman with physical capabilities of injuring me. God.
And she very often, the way she sells stuff, she'll just let out the most fucking primal scream, ah!
Hell yeah.
It's yeah, get him. But yeah, I've gotten very into wrestling, and I think she might be my favorite so far.
That's excellent. Well, I got another thing to talk about, and I think this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to put a little bookworm in your brain that's going to be looking out for a certain type of word or phrase, I think. Are you familiar with the term tautology?
Tautology?
A tautology, yeah.
I've heard the term, yes.
Do you know what it means?
I did at one point, and I remember I looked it up because I went, what does that mean? And now I've forgotten.
Gotcha. So, I looked this up because of something that you were talking about the other day that made me go, surely this is a thing, right? I looked it up. You were talking about assless chaps. So,
oh yeah, I had a reel that actually went not viral, but is doing some good numbers, where I bitch about assless chaps.
Right, yeah. Like, chaps, by their nature,
have no ass.
Like, that's how they work, right?
And you're
they are a separate leg covering.
And you're actually describing the action of not wearing pants underneath the chaps, which most people are. But it's been said so frequently that now when anyone just sees chaps in isolation,
they go, oh, assless chaps.
Oh, assless chaps. Like, those are regular chaps. You don't know what the person's going to wear underneath them. They're on a hanger. They're not assless chaps on a hanger.
Well, get ready to get mad about more than just assless chaps, because my second thing is tautology. And a tautology is a statement that repeats an idea using near synonymous morphemes. I learned that word from you. Words or phrases, effectively saying the same thing twice.
Chai tea.
Chai tea. Yes, that's on my list. Absolutely. Convicted felon. If you are a felon, by your very nature, you must have been convicted. Exactly.
There was a chain of smoothie places when I lived in Canada that made me really angry. It was called, if you're pronouncing words correctly as they're meant to, Hugo juice. But Canadians made it worse and called it Jugo juice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but a smoothie place, it just means juice.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a tautology. And in fact, a large amount of the tautologies that are out there are place names. If you think about the Mississippi River, Mississippi in Algonquin means big river.
Big river.
So the Mississippi River is Big River. Where there's so many of these, I found a huge list of tautological place names. So the Uruguay River in Brazil, Uruguay means River of the Painted Birds.
River. So
River of the Painted Birds River.
So colonization created these annoying things.
A lot of these, exactly. Which is all the more reason to get annoyed by them. Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much any river that has been in an area that was ever colonized is probably it's probably river in some language and then river, right? Exactly. The Rio Grande. Exactly. There's so many of these. Cove Bay in Aberdeen, Scotland. A cove is a type of bay. like come on. But when it comes to tautology, there's also a lot of phrases and things and stuff that comes up. And I basically, my second thing is just talking about some more of these. So like wandering planet, right? If you've heard the term wandering planet or wandering planetoid, the word planet comes from the Greek word meaning wanderer. It's a wandering wanderer. The word in Greek is planetes, I believe is the root word of planet. Some pretty common phrases. If you know, that's a tautology. Over exaggerate, that's a tautology. An exaggeration is an overstatement, so the over is implied. Illegal trafficking. If you are trafficking, it's illegal. If it wasn't illegal, it wouldn't be trafficking, right? There's also something called a initialism, which is, there are a lot of initialisms that get spoken as tautologies. So like ATM machine, PIN number, yes. ATM machine, the M stands for machine. COVID-19 disease.
So what's interesting about the PIN number in ATM machine is I really think for PIN, I think smartphones and other more advanced payment methods where people are using less cash, I don't hear those as often. I hear the ATM or my PIN, I think.
That's a good point. I feel like I used to hear more. That's a good point.
I used to hear that more. I've thought about this one. I've thought about this one a lot. Yeah. I think the advent and proliferation of smartphones are where this changes.
Yeah. Can I pull off my cape and mask and tell you that I've tricked you in this episode, Brianne?
What do you trick me with?
ISBN number is a tautology. Oh ISBN number is a tautology.
You've done it. It's her, the Joker.
This whole time.
She's
the whole first part of this episode, I was deliberately saying ISBN number just to be a troll.
I was just letting it pass. I think I just said the ISBN.
I think you might have, but yeah, I just was deliberately saying ISBN number just to be a troll. And now I feel like the listeners and you might just like pick up more often on these I have a bunch more examples of these. So EDM music.
Yep.
ICBM missile.
So the ones that are initialisms, I notice all of the time, and it always annoys me.
Yeah. SAT test, right?
Yep.
SSD drive. I'm guilty of that one. SSD drive. I say that all the time. It's a solid state drive. SSD. That's a computer thing. Yeah. UPC code.
Sucking a sloppy dick. I don't know what SSD.
That's what they do for computers. Is sucking sloppy dick. VIP person. I've heard that one used on occasion. So, yeah. There's a term that was coined in 2006 by a writer for the New York Times named William Safire, and he defined something called a tautophrase, which is a phrase or sentence that tautologically defines a term by repeating that term. So, boys will be boys. If it works, it works. It is what it is. When I fool around, I don't fool around. Tautophrase. So yeah, those are tautologies, and I think it's an interesting concept, and I feel like they fill me with a sort of strange amount of rage for some reason when I hear one.
Yeah. And then,
like, but then I say them.
But then on chaps, right? So some people were like, well, so I had someone who was like, and it's like, we just like to make things efficient and easy, and sometimes they end up not making sense for a little bit, but I'm like, okay, this doesn't fit. Mouths get lazy, want to make things easy, don't want to say wearing no pants with chaps, say assless chaps was their argument. But pantsless chaps is right there. So I don't think this actually applies to that. You know what I mean? It neither makes it easier to say or clearer. So it doesn't fit those usual things that we do with language.
It's really weird, yeah. So, and like, we would never hear someone say a shirtless jacket.
We have terms like going commando.
Right.
For not wearing underwear with pants.
Yeah.
And that's like, okay, we're not wearing underwear with pants. We've shortened it to going commando. Free balling.
Fun fact I learned recently, actually, while looking up tautologies. So chaps, not assless chaps, chaps, the word, or rather the objects themselves are Mexican in origin, but also the word is. And it's believed that the origin is from the Mexican word chaparros, which is the name for a brush and a type of shrub. And what is believed happened is Americans shortened the word to chaps.
To chaps, yep.
Yeah. And originally, by the way, it was spelled shaps. SCHAPS or SHAPS. Shaps.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But to the listener, chaps never have an ass to them. By design, they don't got a butt. I had 3 pairs of them when I did my equestrian competitions. Not a single one of them covered my butt. That would just have my coochie out and my butt covered, and that's just a completely different thing. But
exactly, yeah. And the idea is to protect your legs and your pants from where you're walking and going.
From brush.
Yeah.
Yeah, thorny brush, barbed wire fences.
Yeah, chaparros.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't say assless chaps. Just say chaps. Call a spade a spade.
Or you could say pantsless chaps. Hey, happy Pride, it's pantsless chaps you're wearing. Nice ass.
Yeah.
And that was one of my arguments. I was like, it's an extremely ass-forward outfit if you're wearing chaps with no pants underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you really could just break it down and just say, oh, they're wearing chaps. Like, let's say they are wearing pantsless chaps. You can just say they're wearing chaps. You don't.
You're saying, they're just wearing chaps.
They're just wearing chaps.
They're
just chapping.
Chaps. Wow, pantsless chaps.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, tautologies. The rage that you expressed over assless chaps sent me down a whole
annoys me. It just fucking annoys me.
Me too, honestly. Like it's when someone points it out that I get the most annoyed by it, but I do absolutely get annoyed by it as well.
Yeah, I think as someone who has owned multiple pairs of chaps, I'm just very aware of it. Because I would have people, like in high school, I still own these, and I would have girls look through my closet and be like, ooh, why do you have assless chaps? It's like, they're not assless chaps. They're regular chaps, city girl.
Yeah. I do think it's funny that, like, they're perhaps one of the only garments that is worn in a public-facing sense that does make it easier to get pegged. Like, just by its very nature, the only thing that it is exposing that trousers do not expose is your butt.
It exposes your crotch.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
A lot of the examples I was seeing had the crotch covered.
Mine did not have the crotch covered.
Oh.
The crotch is out.
Oh. Well, that's just slutty. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. That's crotchless pants.
That's crotchless pants now. Now you're talking about crotchless chaps.
TM, crotchless pants.
But yeah, so that's my thing. I think that's both of our things that we presented everyone with our things. So,
all right.
Hope you enjoyed our things.
Hope you enjoyed our things. I enjoyed your things.
I frequently enjoy your things.
If you liked this episode, you can thank our Patreon supporters like Jill Shambaugh, Bethany Glass, Percy, Chamberlain Foreman, Nanya B, Kate Mishigoose, Kate Genius, Chips1012, Dave Perrell, Megan E, Carl Brooks, Natasha Neves, Gus Lutzi, Helen Clifford, B. Trossler, Sewing Seraph, Rachel Rachelson, Fintago, and Randy Lovings. Now, you know the usual. You want to help us out? You can do that by telling people about the show. We don't take paid ads, and we don't pay for advertising. We grow entirely by word of mouth, so if you know some nerd who is interested in one of the mini dumps topics we talked about today, share the episode with them. Tell them, are you trying to get someone into wrestling and you want them to learn about Asuka? Send them this. Do you have a friend who has a Chihuahua? Send them this episode. It helps us out so much, like you wouldn't believe. Our other show, Today's Lucky Winner, has grown so much because you all share the show with friends and loved ones, and it shows a lot, and we really appreciate you, and doing that helps us all around. If you'd like to help us even more, you can subscribe and leave a rating and or review or nice comment on the podcatcher of your choice. More interactions gets us promoted by the algorithm more and helps other people find the show on their podcast apps of choice. So by engaging with the show and leaving a rating and review, you're also helping us get found by more people. If you're in a place to help us out financially, you can go to the show details and find a link to the Mixnomer Patreon page where you get bonus content for this show and other shows that we do, the other show we do currently and other shows we're working on for the future. And that will be the one-stop shop to support the work we do here at Mixnomer. That is the way that we can upgrade people's equipment. We recently switched podcast hosts, and because of all of the support we've gotten from the Patreon supporters listed before, we now have the funds to start even more shows, and it's because of you. So the funds we get from Patreon get done by profit sharing with the cast and crew, and then also some that goes into a little savings thing to grow the show and improve equipment and just help us make even better stuff for you. So I always like to kind of periodically remind people of what that Patreon money goes to. It doesn't just go to me and Violet, it goes to everyone and to growing things. But that's all I've got for you this time, my friends. Until next time, clever sign off.